When the horrors of reality have got you down, a long-beloved series will return once again to bring you the zombie shooting you crave, as well as a new direction for the biohazard games. A 9-foot vampire mummy for the internet to get irrationally horny over. Beams. Resident Evil 8-inch. Return to the tragic story of Ethan Winters, a man so stupid that he's impervious to pain. Pushed to his absolute limit when the wife he spent the entire last game trying to save is lit up like a Christmas tree in the opening 5 minutes. His giant baby is stolen and dumped in a comically shabby European village filled with campy traditional monsters. 'Cause of science, of course. And forced to fight for his life while they all take turns doing various body horrors to his hands, until he gathers the military arsenal of a small country and blows them all into tiny pieces. In another Resident Evil game that reveals the inherent tension between making a scary game and giving you a rocket launcher. Meet the wide variety of evils infesting this tiny Transylvanian hamlet, starting with the elephant-sized lady in the room, who Capcom hit a fetish bingo with by making a giant mean goth with an insane dumper. Then capitalized on the internet's fierce desire to be stepped on by her, by making her seem like the main antagonist when she's basically just the first boss. Instead, you'll spend the rest of the game capping werewolves, undead, gargoyles, and the Borg, fighting some decidedly less sexy big bads, for most people anyway. And of course, mowing down livestock like you're having a troubled childhood. Also, if you didn't know the hot vampire lady was going to turn into a hulking monstrosity at some point, you've literally never played a Resident Evil. Blast your way through the game's action-heavy combat, where the ammo conservation of the early games has long been replaced by a system where you are constantly unloading full clips to drop regular enemies, picking up ammo everywhere like you're playing Doom, and piecing it together out of scraps like a hobo MacGyver. To keep up with the shuffling hordes of enemies, the game likes to have pop out of nowhere, as you miss 4 out of 5 bullets because everything sways around like they're in theater dance troupe. Not that it's actually very hard or anything, because even on standard difficulty, Ethan has the endurance of the f***ing juggernaut, the ability to block weapons with his wrists, and the plot armor to withstand an insane amount of stabs to the chest, all of which is surprisingly explained by the story at some point. Which is not the same thing as making sense, a thing that Resident Evil has literally never done. And no, I'm not talking about eating delicious pork dishes that seems to make you more impervious to shivs. That makes total sense.
Here it is. Please, join me.
Experience the simple trick of Village, where Capcom pulls out its highest caliber set dressing, characters, and graphics to disguise the fact that you're basically walking down a hallway for most of the game, occasionally being set free in an area to solve a couple of simple puzzles at your own pace, backtrack to grab some hidden stuff, use the new crank you got on all the big spots labeled crank that you passed earlier, and play one of those little rollerball games for some reason, all to fill this enigmatic fancy boy's coffers so he'll make your gun shoot 2% better. Then watch as the game explains basically everything else, except for this guy and what his entire deal is.
What are you buying? Just something an old friend of mine used to say.
Lazy plot hole, mystery for a later game, or new Street Fighter skin. This is Capcom we're talking about, so there's like absolutely no way to know. So lock and load with the remnants of your hand and cover your body in healing goo for a competent shooter with a fun and unique setting that's also a pretty good horror as long as you don't mind that it's not actually very scary. Except for the part in the mansion. No spoilers, just soilers. And by soilers, I mean that I shat myself. Starring Holy Jolie, Anime Mom Hair, HGH Chris Redfield, Augustus Gloop, Manic Bugsy Nightmare Girls, Dummy Lust, Child's Play, Blinky, Keanu Reeves as Magneto, and Dahlia Gillespie. Resident Evil Monster Mash. You know, having mercenaries back is great and all, but when is Capcom bringing back tofu? Think of how delicious the hand-biting scene would be. Beefy.
Fire Emblem Three Houses.